And I'll start with a word that has been going around, fair. Findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And of course it should have some other letters like openness, but it wouldn't be as attractive to call it fair and so on and so forth. And one thing I want to talk about fair, which is definitely a great indication and a great concept that we should be all following in the research that we want, is that it should have many R's. R stands for usable, but usually it should be fair, where it's runnable, replicable, reproducible, and so on. And there are slight differences in the meanings, and we need all of them. And if you think of the term fair, F, A, and I are the means to start achieving R. The R is the goal. The reproducibility is the beginning in order to do replicability, which is the holy grail of science. If you have a scientific experiment and observation to be able to replicate it, only then you know that everything is correct. Even in mathematics, another mathematician goes through the proof, proves it, and then that. And science suffers from this currently. So since more and more science is data-based, to have fair is to be able to start going after the replicability of science, and this is very important. And we talk about data a lot. I heard it quite a bit in this event. In some, I wish it was mentioned even more, but that's okay. Fair is enough. We talk about data, but we forget that in order for data to be useful, to be reusable and eventually replicable, we should be thinking about all the other research objects as well, like the software, the protocols, the methods, even digital representations of the instruments that were used, in a way that will allow us to make sense of the data in order to reproduce them and eventually to replicate them. If we just focus on the data and we don't focus on the entire space of research objects, then no matter what we'll do, we will miss on the R. We will never be able to reproduce the research experiments and data. And this is a key thing. Now, fair is, as I said, a dimension of quality, but it's, if you want, the bottom layer, the least that we want. It doesn't talk anything about the content, the actual data, okay? It can be reproducible and everything, but if it's garbage in, then you'll get garbage out. So quality has many other dimensions, and we should be focusing on that. And for this, research infrastructures are to play a major role, and I'll quote our chair, Giorgio, who said that the research infrastructures allow us to have controllable quality, to choose what kind of quality we want and deliver it, and then guarantee that it is this quality, so that the scientists that are using this data then know the quality that they have and proceed accordingly to interpret the results. And in order to have this kind of quality, whatever quality is chosen, research infrastructures, or whatever other environments this data is produced, must have a lot of internal data services, not just the external ones that will be given to the researchers, but a lot of internal services, data services, cleaning, curation, integration, wrangling, lots of stuff that should be happening in the dungeons of the research infrastructures, but they're equally valuable to the external services that are the scientists will be using and then developing upon. Addressing the challenges of science. So let's not forget about that. Now, these were the internal services. Let me go to the external services. One thing I want to highlight here is that the services that are to be provided are in a hierarchy. Usually we have flat set of services, but there is a hierarchy in the dimension of genericity to specificity. Any research infrastructure or any environment must be using services that are common across the field, across all sciences, and then as you go along to more and more specific scientific fields, the services are more specific. For example, it is very characteristic. We talk about data services, but the HRI just presented that its particular discipline, their particular research infrastructures require data services that not only have digital data, but also physical data. What kind of service is this? What kind of cyber-physical service we need to provide that? Fascinating. We should be focused on the specificity. And because of all this, the EOS has a role to play on the generic side, and interdisciplinary teams that one side will not forget the other, the specific domain scientists with a computer scientist, with a domain scientist from the next domain should be coming together for economy of money, economy of time, quality of time, to be coming up and placing services in the distinct hierarchy. And of course, fair and correctness is a quality that doesn't apply only to the data, but to services as well. Last element, quality, services, data, and everything in between. It costs. Quality of a pair of shoes or of a summer home on the beach costs, and the same thing is for data. And we should not be forgetting about the cost of the data in order to have the appropriate quality. And it's not just cost now that data is generated. We want fairness and correctness in depth of time, not just now. Microsoft changes operating system, suddenly all the services don't work. If we don't take care of that, we lose valuable data, valuable results. Also, concepts change. The concept of a computer, for a historian of science, has changed from the 40s and 50s, which was a human, now to which is the things that we have in front of us, and many other things. So syntax or semantics, things change, and we have to worry from the beginning that we need investment on the data quality until we decide that the data set or a service is no longer needed. And even for that, we should have some plans for it. The way we have plans to decommission a whole research infrastructure, we should have plans and algorithms to judge on whether a data set or a service is no longer needed and let it go. Hardware is becoming cheaper, but saying that, well, we'll just keep everything will not work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for very interesting remarks.